Welcome to Keith Knight, Don't Tread on Anyone. This is an excerpt from the weekly newsletter of James Corbett at CorbettReport.com. Government itself is immoral. No, I do not want better elections. I do not want to clean up the system. I do not want to get the money out of politics and make sure every vote is counted and drain the swamp so we can make America or any other geographical area great again. The state is not a benevolent force, as the most brainwashed of statists believe. It is not even a neutral tool that can be used for good or ill, as those who consider themselves pragmatists believe. It is violence, it is force, it is aggression. It is people believing that what is wrong for any individual to do is perfectly okay if an agent of the state does it. If I steal, it is theft. If the state steals, it is taxation. If I kill, it is murder. If the state kills, it is warfare. If I force someone to work for me involuntarily, it is slavery. If the state does it, it is conscription. If I confine someone against their will, it is kidnapping. If the state does it, it is incarceration. Nothing has changed but the label. What binds us to the state is the belief that there is a different morality for anything that has been sanctified through the political process. Oh, 50% plus one of the population voted for forced vaccinations, then I guess we have to comply. If you scoff at that sentence, how about if the vote was 100% minus one? Would that change the morality of resistance? How about if forced vaccinations were mandated by the Constitution? Then would you be compelled to submit? Does the ballot box transform the unethical into the ethical? Of course not. But I'll tell you what it does do. It does make everyone who casts their ballot a part of the process that legitimizes the murder and violence committed by agents of the state. No, I am not an efficiency manager for the state. I do not want to help it do its job of inflicting aggression and violence on peaceful people. I want the state to perish, not through violence or bloodshed, but by removing the mystical superstition from the minds of the general public that makes them believe that government is anything other than a gang of thugs with a fancy title. This is the point that, in my experience as a communicator of voluntarist ideas, I start butting up against a brick wall of incomprehension. When talking to the normies in the crowd, they start having mental breakdowns, frothing at the mouth that votes need to happen, as if voting, elections, positions of responsibility, and other things that exist under statism could not exist under voluntary associations, as if voluntary association itself was such an arcane and bewildering concept that no one could possibly wrap their head around it, let alone, heaven forbid, read a book or two to see if their questions on the subject have already been answered. Corbett cites Chaos Theory by Robert P. Murphy and An Agorist Primer by Samuel Edward Konkin III. No, much easier to go back to the comforting political wrestling match. Red versus blue? Now that I can get behind. That's a travesty, really, because the truth is that it's not a complicated message. It's actually remarkably simple and remarkably hopeful. The truth is that there is only one vote that matters. Sitting around and not voting is not going to change anything. Yes, by all means, let's vote. But, and you knew there was a but coming, I'm not talking about voting in some phony baloney selection to anoint some political puppet as president of this geographical location. I'm talking about the only vote that matters. For the rest of us, there is the realization that the political system itself is just another form of enslavement, an enslavement that is all the more insidious because it asks us to buy into it. All we have to do is push a button or pull a lever or touch a screen once every 4 years, and we are now absolved from our moral responsibility. Ironically, this realization is in itself liberating and puts the world into focus with crystal clarity. We are not cogs in some machine called society to be dictated to by some nebulous entity we have been taught to call the government or the authorities. We are free individuals, freely interacting with those around us, bound by the moral injunction not to initiate force against others or take things from others against their will. We are responsible for our actions and their consequences, both positive and negative. We are responsible for what we do or don't do to help those in our community and make this world better, or leave it to rot. There is no political messiah that will descend from the heavens to tell us what to do or to protect us from bad men. All we have is ourselves and our choices. We vote every day, not in some meaningless election, but in whom we choose to associate with, what we choose to spend our money on, and what we choose to invest our time and energy in doing. This is the essence of freedom.